Playing a character with cerebral palsy, how did you prepare for the role? Was there any research that you had to do?
Yes, of course. I didn't know very much about CP before I did this film. You know, all I had seen was my left foot, honestly. So there was a lot of work. I was introduced to Malini Chib, who has CP. She is the cousin of my director. And she really, really helped me because she just opened up her life to me. I followed her around a lot. I went to her house. I lived with her and her parents. I went out drinking with her. We went, you know, we just did normal activities. And also, whatever, when she went to work, I would go and work with her, and she was working in ADAPT, which is a Center for Disability. So there are a lot of different people who, I mean, everybody who has CP has something different. It's not the same for everyone. So it's very hard to sort of decide what you're going to do and what not. So that was something we all had to sit together, the director, me, Malini, and decide on. And about 6 months of research, sitting in a wheelchair, doing all activities in a wheelchair, reading a lot about it, watching every YouTube video possible on it. Yeah, there was a lot of work.
So was
Of course, the main thing was the speech and the physicality bit. I worked with a speech therapist and a physiotherapist for that, and you know, really worked on the breath techniques, basically like understanding how you breathe and how somebody with CP will have a lot more shallow breathing because their muscles are weaker. So because of that, they run out of breath halfway through a sentence. They have to take another breath. So that's why there's pauses. So there's all these different things. The tongue is a muscle as well. So for example, when you say T, that the tongue moves back a lot. So a person with CP would probably say T instead of T, T. So like beautiful would become beautiful. So this is the kind of detailing we went into, like with everything.
And then did that inflict on the script at all? Like, was there quite a bit of improvisation involved as well that came up?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Shonali is the kind of a director who constantly changes her work with the actors. You know, once we started rehearsing, she would, you know, ad-lib things, or we would improvise things. And of course, Laila's character doesn't need to speak as much because, you know, you would communicate as little as possible because it takes so much effort. So there were a lot less dialogues, but there's a lot of in-between things that happen, a lot of jokes that would happen that, you know, got included just from the action of trying it out and, you know, rehearsing.
Excellent. What appealed to you most about the role of Laila?
It's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, you know, to do a film like this. It opened my mind up on so many things, but also it's not very often that we see disability portrayed in a female protagonist, and we never ever tackled the issue of sex and disability in India. So I think for me it was a very, very interesting and important subject because you know, it's not like people with disability don't have lives, and you know, they have just as much of a life as we do, and you know, it's important that not that you highlight it, but that you just that you know about it and you're aware of it.
It's not just India. I can't think of a Western film that sort of has disability and sex.
There's one film which is that one with Helen Hunt, which I saw called I forget what it's called. Which is about, you know, sexuality and disability. It's oh God,
it's
what
not
is it
Twister.
called? No. It's recent. I watched it when I was researching as well. It's about you know, sex therapists who help people with disability understand sex and, you know, get comfortable with sex and stuff. So it's a very interesting film. But yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
No. I mean, with it being based on Shonali's cousin, was there much pressure when you took on the role of...
Yeah, the thing is, thankfully, Shonali was very, you know, she said don't think of Malini or don't think of me, because it's also based on Shonali's life a lot. She said, just think of Laila. We're creating this character. So, even though, yes, it was based on a lot of things from Malini's life, there are certain creative calls she took. Like, Malini's speech is really difficult to understand. Like, I understand it after hanging out with her a lot, but in the beginning I couldn't. So we needed Laila to be more understood in the film, so that obviously the audience can know what she's saying. So there are certain creative calls that we took, which then made it, less intimidating, because you're not copying somebody, you're not trying to imitate one real life person, but creating a character.
I mean, one of the best things, I watched it earlier and stuff, and the best sort of like thing I took away from it was that whole message of there is no normal. I mean, have you, in your life or even in your film career, have you ever felt a pressure to adjust to the norm or to be a certain way?
Of course, I think as a kid, especially as a teenager, you're constantly trying to fit in. And I didn't fit in very well at all, because I was this white, blonde-haired kid in this South Indian school. So, I've always had this thing of where do I stand, because, even when I came here, I should have fit in, but I felt Indian, and I had this Indian accent, but then, I looked white, and I didn't know where I belonged and all of that. So all this identity crisis stuff, I think it's part of life. You're trying to constantly figure out who you are.
And just accepting.
Yeah, so, I think that's essentially accepting that, it's actually a great thing to be different. And that's what makes us interesting. That's what makes interesting stories.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you mentioned it before. You studied at Goldsmiths in London. Have you ever been tempted to come back to do a British film at all?
Of course, I'd love to if the chance came up. But, I have a career and my life happening in India, so I'm not going to leave that, of course, to come here. But, of course, if the chance came up, I would love to do a film here. Awesome.
And what do you most miss about London?
I miss the cultural, artistic buzz, because in Bombay, we have like some 4 clubs where everybody knows everybody, and we have a couple of galleries that are collecting dust, and one theatre which is really sort of buzzing, where there's plays going on, Prithvi Theatre. Oh, yeah. But here there's just so much, like the Barbican Centre and Cadogan Hall and I don't know, even the West End, of course, but all this alternative stuff and underground stuff, and the gigs and things that are constantly happening, and a lot of them for free. And I found that it was just so bustling with energy, with artistic energy. I miss that.
Are you watching any this weekend?
I will. I don't know yet what, because until tomorrow I'm totally owned by my production. I'm going to do all these interviews and
sorry about
premiere.
That.
No, it's great. It's fun. I enjoy it, absolutely. I mean, come on, I have a premiere in Leicester Square. It's so cool. but after that, I got a couple of days, so yeah, I'm going to try and catch some stuff.
Excellent. You did a video, It's Your Fault,
Yes.
for the anti-rape campaign, which was hilarious and really good. Do you think things in India have changed since Nirbhaya?
I think there's a lot more awareness. I think it's going to take a long time to change the system, because even though the laws are changing, there's still a lot of implementation that's not changing very fast. So I think that's going to take a lot of time. But I think the very fact that it's being publicized and talked about, women's issues are really being talked about, it's almost popular right now, is fantastic. Yeah.
And do you feel with that, going back to the homosexuality in Margarita With A Straw, do you feel, there was this article today in the Metro, Benedict Cumberbatch, basically saying how homosexuality is something that still holds some actors back from coming out in Hollywood. Is it a similar story in Bollywood at all?
Absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't have a career, I think, if you came out, if you were in Bollywood. It's really sad. I think the idea of the hero is so set in Bollywood. It's like a certain set way of being that it's very difficult for at least commercial big stars to come out about their sexuality.
So with that viral that you did,
Benedict Cumberbatch is not gay though, because he's just
well, he experimented a bit at school.
Really?
He said so.
Oh, no.
There you go. That's
no,
also
but
a
he's
talking
bisexual.
point. I don't know whether he is. I mean, he experimented at school, according to the article I wrote, but I'm not sure today. You can ask him.
He's so amazing.
He is amazing. Did you watch The Imitation Game at all?
No, I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's worth watching, definitely. Okay, sorry. Final question. Well, yeah, with that viral that you did and everything, and there was also Imran Khan who did an amazing one on being gay and how it's normal. Do you think that it's finally there's less pressure on celebrities and Bollywood people like yourself to be able to push the change you want to see in the world? There's less pressure from the industry to like, this might affect your career if you talk about things?
I guess so. Social media has made it a lot easier to say what you feel and think. Of course, it has its repercussions as well, like a lot of hate, haters. But no, definitely we can open up a bit. But it's still far away from the place where you can go up and say I'm gay, for instance. If somebody is, I personally am not, as far as I know. But I think that it's still a long way away from that.